Hey, what's up everybody? So here I am, got my motor cradle welded back together. Took this over to a shop here in Spokane and had this TIG welded by a professional. I thought about for a couple of weeks if I wanted to try and weld this myself, but decided not to, and I'm glad I didn't, because I have a MIG welder and I don't really know how to weld. So the guy did a fantastic job, and I'll show next the process of cutting this apart and kind of squishing it back together. And apologize for how slowly I speak in those videos, and it's because you can hear the fear and trepidation in my voice. But now that I'm through the process, I feel pretty confident that it's going to work out. And the thing I'm waiting for next is the inverter relocation kit from Salvage to Savage shop down in Florida, so that I can move my inverter and cap off the bottom of that, cap off the motor side, and run the coolant lines and wiring up to the inverter where it goes. And then that baby will fit right in here. So stand by for that. Hopefully we'll get that in the next couple of weeks. But anyway, here goes the tedious process of cutting this thing apart. Okay, so what I'm doing here is I've routed out all these aluminum welds on the motor cradle. And so I'm kind of doing it the way they did at the factory, cutting these out so that I can remove 7 inches from each bar, put the bar back in, re-weld all these joints. That's theoretically the idea. So you can see I did a combination of routing and cutting to break all these joints. This is the last one here. Needs a little bit more finesse, but you can see these two big ones, they're broken loose and we're almost there. So then obviously I'm gonna have to relocate this side of both motor mounts, deleting 7 inches from here. This one's gonna slide down to be about right here. This one is gonna be right about here, and the other half is gonna have to be mounted onto the cast area. Okay, so here it is all finished. Well, the major cuts are done. There's still a little cleanup and fine tuning to do to get these joints to fit together just right, but as you can see, we've got the basic idea here, and got my motor mounts still intact, and we'll brace those up after getting the joints welded back together. So yeah, there we have it. It looks kind of funny, so much more narrow, and similar to the Model 3 motor cradles, because they don't have the inverter. It's shaped more like my motor will end up being, with the inverter relocated, having only the motor and the axles. So there we go. Okay, there you go. That was the process there, and I didn't take a lot of video when I was cutting it, because it ended up being a combination of using my chop saw and kind of finagling it to hold it on there. Ended up being really difficult, so I made maybe one cut with the chop saw, but it was just too hard to clamp and hold. So I ended up using a circular saw for most of it, and it was a pretty ugly process, so you didn't miss out a whole bunch, but you get the idea. If you know how to cut something, you can figure it out if you're doing this yourself. And here I'll just give a quick look up close at the final product and how these motor mounts and stuff are welded back together to complete the picture. So here's the one where initially it had the factory brace like this coming down, and I cut it just flush right there. And so Levi the welder, he created this brace and TIG welded that together. Here are these nice beautiful welds throughout, and this motor mount essentially just shaved off the last little corner here and then just made a nice big pool of aluminum weld all through there to hold it. And show you the bottom real quick. Had the one plug weld here, that looks nice and beefy, and then all the way down, pretty good looking situation. So obviously if you're doing this, main concern is going to be getting it squared up again after you cut it apart. And this is nice and square. We clamped it down on his metal table at the welding shop, and so it welded up seemingly nice and square. All the corners hit at the same time if you're balancing it on the table. Not that my crappy table is necessarily that level, but it seems to be good. And we'll see when we bolt the car all back together, get it mounted in there sometime this decade, and see where we go. But yeah, there we are. Okay, well, thanks for watching, everybody. Hope that was interesting and informative if this is indeed something that you're thinking about doing. I'm not aware of anybody doing a Tesla swap in this manner. And again, we'll see if it works out. I'm hoping for the best. I have faith. I spent months and months in planning this whole process, and I'm pretty sure the math works out, etc. So if you're enjoying this, like and subscribe, and continue following along with the build. I'm excited to see where things go, and hope to bring you along with me.